With the release of Watching and Dreaming, Owl House is over. That show is complete and it will never air another episode. But theoretically, if Disney was ever going to do more with this world or its characters, how could they do that? I think the most probable way we will see the story of the Owl House continued is with a journal. Ever since Gravity Falls, Disney has been putting out more journals for all of its story-driven shows, and I think will most likely get one for the Owl House. The journals are normally things which do already exist in the universe, like Journal from Gravity Falls or Marcy's Diary. So, what journals have we seen in the world of the Owl House? The only one I only remember two journals. The first one is Amity's Diary, which is showcased in the episode Lost in Language. If we got Amity's Diary, we could see the events of the show through Amity's perspective. This would be really interesting to see her point of view, especially on the first half of season one, where she is basically Luz's rival, and as we hear in Lost in Language, Amity is trying to be more friendly with Luz. It would be amazing to see all of Amity's experience with Luz, how it changes to be more friendly, and see Amity's parents more backstory with Willow. We could even get some of what happens in between watching and dreaming, and of course the epilogue if they want to do that. But the other journal we see is just as interesting, if not more. One of the main driving forces of season 2 is Philip's journal. With the journal, we would hear all about Philip's journeys and his rise to become the emperor. He had been in the Boiling Isles for some 400 years or so, and we could find out what he was up to for some of that time. I think Amity's journal is the more likely option because she is possibly the most loved character in the show, and with Philip, it would be an accounting of events 400 years ago in the past, not during the show. Not to mention, Philip lies a lot in the journal just to make him look sympathetic, so it wouldn't really be a true telling of events. But another way to find out more about Philip's past is a Disney Plus miniseries about me, because I'm dressed up as him. Philip's story is too small to be a multi-season show and too long for a movie, but like an 8 or so episode miniseries with 40-minute episodes would be perfect. We would start with Philip and Caleb when they were younger and follow the journey of Philip finding his brother in the Boiling Isles and his fall from humanity. We could end around the time he meets the Collector or he changes name to Bellows, as we find out he will. We could see some of the Grimwalkers and all the shady ways Philip has gathered the Palisman and how his allies have disappeared. It would be quite important to still have Bellows as an antagonist and not frame him as a hero, and that's because Bellows is the series' main antagonist and we need to see him as an evil presence, but I do think fleshing him out more is okay, as long as we just see him lose his humanity, because I think that would make him more evil. So often Disney tries to redeem villains, but with Bellows and in this theoretical series, it would be the perfect chance to show how this cold, calculating emperor we know as Bellows came to be and how he stopped being human, both physically and mentally. In the series, I would not want Bellows' reign as emperor, but if you want to do that, we could get an anthology series called something like The Emperor's Coven or Covens of the Boiling Isles. The show would cover different coven heads, and we would get peeks inside the castle. We would go to some of the schools and see the people trained to join the Emperor's Coven, and see what it takes to join, like Hunter's always talking about, oh yeah, up on the mountain, that was classic. We could see the previous Golden Guard train Darius, a young Terra Snapdragon, find out more about the early days of the Coven system and how Bellows puppeted everyone to ensure his control. A show like this could have as many seasons as Disney wants. Bellows was in power for some 50 years, and there was a lot of a time to explore, all the way up to the start of the Owl House. Every time we see the current Coven heads, I always want more of them, and we could see some of the previous Coven heads, some of the modern ones, and really get a look of what's going on in the inner circle of Bellows and what they think of him. But another interesting perspective to look at the Boiling Isles from is young Edith. This would probably be a show with somewhere around 2 seasons, in my opinion, and would go through Edith's time in Hexside all the way up to finding King. We could see her bond with Lilith, more of Rain and Eda, and the early years of Edith's curse, and see how she invaded the Emperor's Coven. She is such a central figure to the show, The Owl House, and would make a great main character in my opinion. There is just a span of a few years where her life just completely fell apart, and that would be so interesting to explore. She only met Rain 7 months before getting the curse, and ran away from her family shortly after. During the show of the Owl House, we see Ida come to terms with the trauma, but to get the trauma explored, see it in real time, and to see how a teenager reacts to all of that would be truly captivating. But my final idea is probably the least likely as to happening, but I think it might also just be the most interesting to see. During the epilogue of Owl House in Watching and Dreaming, we saw a lot of interesting character resolutions, and how everyone ended up was pretty interesting. And I would say the show perfectly closed the book, but there was one bit of dialogue which put this idea into my mind. King's Titan magic was getting much stronger to the point where he could make a light glyph. But as is pointed out, it isn't the same light glyph. King has his own glyph system, and Ida says something like, Luz, you now have a whole set of glyphs to learn. And we hear that Luz has also developed this new type of magic, which is never shown. So let's theoretically say we did get a sequel to the Owl House. I don't think it'll happen. Let's indulge the idea. First of all, it would need to be a movie. I love these characters so much, but bringing them back as their older versions for a whole new show, that's too much. We already have the 3 seasons of the Owl House if we want to explore them. In this movie, we would see the Boiling Isles in the future. If it happened, I think it would be Luz's last year of university, so like some 4 years after the epilogue. We would finally see her needing to decide what she's going to do as an adult. She has spent all her life trying to do everything at once, taking every track in school and in university, but now she's an adult. She needs to pay bills and will need to provide for her family some years in the future. So she would need to choose what to do, because she can't do everything if she has people to provide for. We would see her learning the new glyphs, going on dates with Amity. I really want to see that, and actually using String Bean. Io would be getting older, and all the problems that come with that. All of Luz's friends are accomplished at this point, and she's just standing there trying to figure out, what about me? What do I do? Throughout season 2 and 3, Luz was escaping the fantasy idea she had of the Boiling Isles as things became serious, and she's like, this. We find out that this isn't just some joke to her anymore. She needs to grow up. Here, we would see her becoming an adult and all the struggles she faces with having to decide what to do, and after a life of just trying to do everything. I think something like this would be an amazing chance for Luz's character to grow more and finally finish her development. And I think an internal conflict driven story would be a really nice change of pace after the 3 seasons just under the constant threat of Belos. The reason I don't think something like this is very likely is because the show did end, the characters literally said goodbye to us. Although I really love the idea of Luz going to college and having her growing up and ending it with her deciding what to do, settling down with Amity, starting a family maybe, the show ended in such a perfect way where bringing them back, even just for one last perfect adventure, might feel weird after them saying bye to us. Although this is the thing out of all my ideas I want to see most, the ending is so perfect, it might be better not to mess with it and leave it just people like me to theorize what happens. Anyways, though, those are all the ways I think Disney could continue the world of the Owl House. I think there are so many more stories that should have been told in this world, but because of season 3 being canceled, we could have them explored in other shows, and I am open to it as long as it doesn't mess with existing development. I do not want sympathetic Philip. He's a monster. Keep it that way. I'm not a monster, though. But I do want you to give me your ideas for Owl House spin off projects, movies, shows, books, whatever. I just want to know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, tell me what the name of the Illusion Cousin's head witch is for today's trivia. He's a cool character, so if you remember, down there. Even though I made this video talking about ways to continue the Owl House, I also made a video just the other day about how special the show is and why we might not ever get anything like it again, which is pretty sad, but you can check that out here. Subscribe, as I will be doing a long analysis on Watching and Dreaming in the coming days, as well as plenty other Owl House videos on the way. Anyways, though, thanks for watching. I've been Fictional Fanatics. Until the next one, bye!